third paragraph on the page. Last paragraph on the first column. It says Behemshech Har Parshis. The Rebbe is going to first speak about the continuation of the different parshas. That there's the parshas of Yisroi, Mishpatim, and Terumah. And he's going to connect those three things together. He says that in the connection of these parshas, there is a very interesting common denominator. Obviously, the common denominator that the Rebbe is interested in is matters having to do with the Geulah. Aleph, sheparshas Mishpatim ba la'achrei u'besmichas leparshas Yisroi. Parshas Mishpatim comes after and in close proximity to Parshas Yisroi. Shesiyuma v'choisma b'dinei HaMizbeach. The conclusion of Parshas Yisroi, if you remember from over a week ago, was about the halachas of Mizbeach, what to do when you build a Mizbeach out of earth, and Rashi explains it doesn't literally mean building out of earth, etc. And Rashi also in the beginning of Mishpatim speaks about the idea of Lama Nismacha Parshas Dinin LaParshas Mizbeach. Why was the Parsha dealing with laws and statutes? In other words, Parshas Mishpatim was immediately following the end of the Parsha of Yisro, which speaks about Parshas Mizbeach. Loim L'cha, to tell you, Shetosim Sanhedrin Eitzlam Migdash VaMizbeach. It is necessary that the location of the Sanhedrin Geulah, the Sanhedrin of 71, is to be in the location that's in the Beis HaMikdash, next to the Mizbeach. The fact that he talks about the connection of the Sanhedrin, their location, where they have to be. They have to be located in a certain chamber in the Beis HaMikdash, not far from the Mizbeach. That's already hinting at an aspect having to do with Moshiach, which is about that I will return your judges as they were initially. And here it's like literally returning the idea of the location that they were over there originally in the Beis HaMikdash. Shiva Sanhedrin Lishchas Hagazos Beis HaMikdash, the return of the Sanhedrin to the chamber of hewn stone in the Beis HaMikdash. That was the chamber, that was the location where the Sanhedrin were located, and that will be Beis HaMikdash Shlishi. Let's see, actually, there's some interesting footnotes over here. He says that the Sanhedrin was supposed to be in a location that's next to the Mikdash, or there's another version in this Maimer Chazal next to the Mizbeach. So in the footnote 61, he says, the whole idea of the Beis HaMikdash is incoming about, voice call from Yosef. The whole idea of the Mizbeach is to be a home for that korbanos, a house with which korbanos were brought. And to such a degree, the Beis HaMikdash is located in the area of Binyamin. Binyamin is likened to a wolf because he grabs the same thing the Beis HaMikdash grabs to korbanos. So by saying the Sanhedrin are placed next to the Mizbeach is like the crux, the apex, the critical juncture of the Beis HaMikdash. That's one point. Also in Ha'ara 60, he says that there's even a continuation, not just to Parshas Yisroi, but also Parshas Beshalach. The conclusion of Parshas Beshalach, when it speaks about Amalek and the war against Amalek, Hashem says that there's a war against Amalek by Hashem from generation to generation, and it says that it's all the way till the generation from our times to Moshiach's times and to the times of Tchias HaMesim Olam Haba. So again, we see this connection not just with Parshas Mishpatim and Parshas Yisro, but even back to Parshas Beshalach with the idea of the Beis HaMikdash. top of the second column. So too, in the continuation of Parsha Mishpatim, in the Shiur of Friday, Parsha Mishpatim was Laviyacha el Amokim Asher Hachinoisi. Hashem says to bring you to the place that I already prepared. What's it mean that Hashem is going to bring us to the place that I already prepared? Kvar mekoimi nikar kenegdoi. My place is already recognized parallel to it. And Rashi brings us down also the idea that the Beis Hamikdash Shalamayla is mechuven keneged Beis Hamikdash Shalamata. V'zeh echad min ha'mekrois shemeidim. This is one of the psukim that let us know that Beis Hamikdash Shalamayla, the supernal Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Hamikdash in heaven, mechuven keneged Beis Hamikdash Shalamata, corresponds to the Beis Hamikdash down here below. That's what it means, that it's the place that I prepared, meaning it's prepared because there's already a Beis Hamikdash above. So that is Parsha Mishpatim's link with the Beis Hamikdash, both in its connection with Parshas Yisro and also with the end of Parsha Mishpatim. But from there we come to our week's Parsha, Parshas base, Parsha Mishpatim, Boimel Parshas Terumah. From Parsha Mishpatim, we come to the Parsha of Terumah. Parsha Mishpatim, until we begin to read it in the Mincha of Shabbos Parsha Mishpatim. In the Mincha in Parshas Terumah, it's over there the command, they shall make for me a Migdash, a sanctuary, a holy place, and I shall dwell amongst them. Now, one could read the pasuk that's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu and the Yidden and the Midbar that Hashem said, build for me a Migdash. But we know that the mitzvah of Asli Migdash is a general mitzvah, and it includes the entire history of all the sanctuaries that we built and we will build. We will build. Shekoy Asiyas HaMishkan, it's referring to both the building of the Mishkan that took place in the Midbar, and it includes the mitzvah of Asli Migdash. It includes Bayis Rishon, Bayis Sheni, the first base of Migdash and the second base of Migdash. And ultimately, V'gam Ubeikir, also it includes, and primarily it includes, Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, the third Beis HaMikdash, Migdash Adonai Koinu Yedach, of the Migdash of Hashem, that your own hands prepared, is also included in the V'asoli Migdash, in the mitzvah of building a Migdash. Ubeinehem, between Parshas Yisro and Parshas Terumah, Ba Parshas Mishpatim, comes Parsha Mishpatim. Why? What is Parsha Mishpatim's link over here? Geulah, to emphasize Yoni HaGeulah, matters of redemption, which is Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, the third Beis HaMikdash. HaMizbeach has to do with the redemption. VaSanhedrin, because they will return to the place of the Beis HaMikdash, like it says, Vashiva Shaftach Varishoinam. Shiva Parshas Elu, all of these topics that are in these two Parshas, Yisro and Terumah, Heim ba'oifen de Mishpatim. They're in a way of laws that are intellectually based. Shemechuyavim gam et haseichel ha'adam. That also human intellect forces us to come to the conclusion about these types of laws. What does that mean in regards to the Beis HaMikdash? What is Beis HaMikdash and human understood laws have to do with each other? In general, we look at holiness, spirituality, Beis HaMikdash ideas as being divorced from this world. It's out of this world. It's not something that has to do with this world. Comes Mishpatim, that's inserted as a link, if you will, between Yisro and Terumah, and shows us, no, the idea of Beis HaMikdash is already part and parcel of this world. It's something that comes into the world. They were already drawn down and permeated the definitions of the world. The world itself already proclaims that the time of the Geulah has already arrived. Let's skip over, because this is primarily going to talk about Mishpatim. Let's skip over to Ois Tes. Here is where one the Rebbe's cries of pain about the Geulah takes place. Top of the second paragraph in page 371. Ois Tes. Al Pia Amar Le'il, according to everything we spoke about earlier in the Fabrenget, Mischazekes Yoiser Apliya Vatmir. The wonder is even stronger. Biyachedim Geulah Hatzar V'Havhola, along with the great pain and shock. It's so painful that to speak about it at length at Shabbos is inappropriate. How is it possible that Yidden are still found in Geulah? Ad Mosai, how long should this be? How does it make sense? About the coming of the true and complete redemption immediately. Ad Lamur, the Erev Shabbos, until the event that happened that Friday that I mentioned earlier, that then it was a United Nations convention about outlawing certain weapons and using it for peaceful purposes. Even the nations of the world proclaim that it's already come the time of turning your swords into shovels. We still find ourselves, top of the next page, and this very Shabbos we still find ourselves outside of Eretz Yisrael. Instead of finding ourselves together with all Yidden from all the ends of the earth, in our holy land, in the holy city of Yerushalayim, of Beis HaMikdash, and the Beis HaMikdash, gathered around a table that's set and ready for human consumption, that on it is already set up all the different foods that we will be partaking when Moshiach comes, the Levyasan, the wild ox, and the wine that's been in safekeeping since times of Adam Rishon. So in other words, we have this idea of that it should have been this way already, that everything is already set on the table. Not that we have it, it's there somewhere. It's already laid out on the table, we're sitting down. And additional and primarily, it was still not received, the notification and the command and the empowerment of they shall make from me a Migdash, and I shall dwell amongst them. We should Terumah b'mincha, like we read in the Terumah mincha. Today is Chitas. Concerning the building of the third Beis HaMikdash, and the Rebbe says, how could that be? How is that possible? That for it not to have happened yet, this is us not being told about this. And this understood the great necessity to increase so much stronger in matters take from mamish miyad mamish to bring closer and speed up and bring in actuality the Geulah immediately mamish. The Rebbe says in Parsh Mishpatim, it's proti adinim bein adam l'chaverim tech shalom. It speaks about the specific laws between a man and his fellow out of peace. Skip the parentheses. Shaydeze ba Geulah. Through peace comes about the redemption. K'maimer Chazal, b'mayos hamishpat, and also judgments that bring about peace. In the quality of judgment, sheboit tzion nivnis, that through judgment tzion is rebuilt. Shenamar, like it says, tzion b'mishpatipada. Tzion will be rebuilt through mishpat. V'chein tzedakah, so to tzedakah, it says v'shavel b'tzedakah, returnees b'tzedakah. V'gmils chasadim, and doing acts of kindness. And the Rebbe says, actually, a very interesting thing in footnote 94, that even this includes also influencing non-Jews as well to involve themselves in tzedakah, especially since the nations of the world are now decreasing their expenditures on armaments, so they could use all that money that was used for armaments for doing tzedakah, both tzedakah for the nations themselves and tzedakah for the Yidden. And the Rebbe in a sub-footnote speaks about that if Bnei Noach have also an obligation of tzedakah, but we see that tzedakah can bring atonement for the nations of the world. So if so, tzedakah is definitely a positive thing for the non-Jews. And then he goes on and says, Kimefurish, Beparshasenu, like it's explicit in Parsh Mishpatim, top of the second column, Im Kesef Talves Ami Oni, when you will lend money to my nation, the poor person, Geulah Gemilas Chasadim Yosem Tzedakah, we know giving a person a free loan is greater even than tzedakah, because a free loan is applicable to everybody. Both rich people and poor people need loans. It's also explained in the Gemara in Sech Bava Basra, skip the parentheses. Protein, Yonim the mitzvah tzedakah, detailed aspects of the mitzvah of tzedakah, and from the primary thing, Geulah tzedakah, shemekarev sagula, tzedakah is greater, that brings the Geulah closer. Shenamar, like it says, Koy Amar Hashem, Shimru Mishpat Vasu tzedakah, this is what Hashem said, observe Mishpat and do tzedakah, kekroivi shuasi, Lavoiv tzidkasuli golus, that my salvation is close to coming and my tzedakah to become revealed. In other words, by Hashem's salvation and Hashem's tzedakah is a direct result of our tzedakah. When we do tzedakah, when we do justice, and we do kindness for others, so then this awakens and this draws down Hashem's tzedakah that helps us out of a state of Golus as well. Let's skip over a little bit. The Rebbe was talking here about a certain Lava Malka for a Gemilas Chesed fund that was taking place that Motzei Shabbos. And let's skip to the bottom of the first column. The continuation is also the lesson that's derived from the beginning of Parshas Terumah that we read on Mincha of Shabbos. Then, yesterday at Mincha, they shall make for me a sanctuary and I will dwell amongst them. Beginning from the individual, private Beis HaMikdash that's within each and every one. As we know, it doesn't say, I shall dwell in it, in the Beis HaMikdash, but I will dwell in them, meaning Besoich Kol Echad Ve'echad, top of the second column, Belibay Pnima, inside, deep inside the heart of every Yid, and his home and his room, Shenasa Beis Torah Tefillah Gemilas Chasadim, becomes a house of Torah, Tefillah, and acts of kindness. Including and specifically, how do we make Hashem a home down here below? How do we make a Mikdash for Hashem? Not just a spiritual way, but practically participating in building and expanding shulim and yeshivas, ba'ofen the v'yichli Terumah goyim rezav v'kesav and achoshes, in a manner of, they shall take from me a donation of gold and silver and brass, skip the parentheses. So by physically making shuls and yeshivas, or expanding shuls and yeshivas with all the different materials, similar how the physical Mishkan was made from all these different materials, take from binyan Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, through this we speed up and we quicken and we affect that immediately should be the building of the third Beis HaMikdash in a literal sense. So now Yud Aleph, he's going to start connecting it with different days of the month, beginning from today. Today is the 25th of Shvat. even though the Rebbe said this Farbrengen on the 27th of Shvat, basically connected with the number 25, 26, etc. So he says, and there's a special empowerment in all the above in these days. So in addition to the special unique quality of it being the month of Shvat, which is the 11th month, and the number 11 that Rebbe often spoke about, how it's higher than Seder Ishtalshalos, 10 shows on the regular order of the world, 11 shows on above and beyond. The Rebbe is saying that this Farbrengen is following the 25th of the month, which this year it's actual today when we're learning this year. It indicates what we say, that concerning Birchas Kohanim, like this, in such a manner you should bless, the Kohanim should bless the Bnei Yisrael. Birchas Kohanim, the brach of the Kohanim, which is Levarich as Am Yisrael ba'ahava davke, specifically to bless his nation Yisrael with love, specifically with love. That's, first of all, it's included actually in the bracha of Birchas Kohanim. If you ever listened, when the Kohanim make the bracha, that's the ba'ahava, that's the emphasis, and it's dafke. It's not just a nice nusach of a bracha. There are certain halachas. If a kohen has a dispute with someone, it's a big problem about doing birchas kohanim, because birchas kohanim has to be done out of love. So too concerning the kohenim's blessing that every Yid says in the brachas in the morning. And how can every Yid say that? So the Rebbe says parenthetically, because of Avatam Tilu Mamlechas Kohanim, because the Torah calls us in Parshas Yisro, you will be from a kingdom of priests. So we are all reciting Birchas Kohanim every day. Ba'ascholas kol yom, at the beginning of every day. La'achrei Birchas HaTorah. After the making the bracha of the Torah, Asher Bachar Banu Kol Ha'amim, Naslas Torah, we say that in Birchas HaShachar, in the morning blessings. So the Rebbe says that when we read that part in the brachas in the morning, just like the kohanim that have to bless the Yidden, they have to do it out of love. So also when we read the birchas kohanim, and therefore by extension we are also blessing Yidden, it should be said out of a feeling of love for another fellow. And this is emphasized by the fact that it goes on later to say this. Like this is emphasized also in the fact, in continuation of this, even before davening, every single Yid says, next page, behold, I am accepting upon myself the positive commandment of loving a fellow as myself. The Alter Rebbe wrote it not in even the Shulchan Aruch, but he wrote it in the Siddur, and the Siddur is something that applies to all equally. In the footnote, the Rebbe brings down also a very interesting thing, that originally, in the original Siddurim, it was written in Rashi script, that thing that you're supposed to say before davening, which indicates that it's different than the square script, which is square script is similar to Sefer Torah script. Rashi script indicates that's already a lower level, meaning that even someone that's on a kaviyachal lower level, even him, he is also could accept upon himself the love for another Yid. And the Rebbe says that this is despite the fact that in the later years the Rebbe encouraged and emphasized to print more and more things in like the square, in the square print. But anyway, that's a side point. Going back to the third line on the page, v'oid v'ikr. And in addition to this, and primarily Shabirchas Kohanim Kolalos Kol Habrachas B'Tachsa Shleimus, that the Birchas Kohanim includes in it all the blessings in the ultimate way. Skip the parentheses. Ubefrat habrocha chri iklis especially, and it includes, even though it's not explicit, but since it includes all blessings, therefore it includes the most important blessing, birchas hagula amitis v'ashlema, take from me ad mamish, the bracha of the true and complete redemption immediately. This is all from the 25th day of the month. 25, koi, chafei, koi savarchas bnei Yisrael. Afterwards comes the 26th day of the month, skip the parentheses. Hagimatir Shem Havaya, 26 is the numerical equivalent of the name of Hashem, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Shekosher Em Kiyum Mitzvahs Koisav Orchas Bnei Yisrael. Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Hashem's name, which is the numerical equivalent 26, is connected with Koisav Orchas Bnei Yisrael. How come? Because Aidei Hakan and Beis Hamikdash B'Shem HaMefurish, that because the way the Kohanim will bless the Yidden in the Beis Hamikdash when Moshiach comes, they actually use the full name of Hashem, not the way we don't know it now. Mashen came Bezman HaGolus, as opposed to the time of the exile, that we do not say it with the name of Hashem that's known. And the preparation for having this type of blessing of the Kohanim with the Shem HaMefurish, which is the numerical equivalent of 26, through the service of Bnei Yisrael, that are the kingdom of priests, in such a way that I will place Havaya before me constantly. Havaya again, the Hashem's name. Gam Bizman HaGolus, even in the time of exile, that by placing Hashem before me, when I personally place Hashem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei before me, so I speed up the time when there will be the revelation of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei in the entire world. After and following and as a result of the Birchas Kohanim, it's in the Beis Hamikdash, Keshem Shani Nichtav Kachani Nikra, that in the Beis Hamikdash, just like the Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is written, that's how it's pronounced. Now Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is written with the letters Yud, Hey, and the Vav and the Hey, but it's pronounced with the letters Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. When Mashiach comes in the Beis Hamikdash, it'll be pronounced as it's written. Well, Achri following the 26th of the month, Yom Zach B'Chodesh, it's the 27th of the month, which hints at, skip the parentheses, Shem and Zayizach, pure olive oil, Lahalas Ner Tamid, to raise up a constant candle, the Menorah Zav Toil Gaim Miksha Achas, and the pure golden menorah made of one piece, Sharoimas Alachdusam Shal Shivas Hasugim Den Shamas Yisrael Shanim Shal Shivas Kane Menorah. This hints at the unity of the 7 different types of Yidden, the 7 branches of the menorah, are indicating the 7 different levels of service, 7 different types of service. But still in all, they are all one. They are all made from one solid piece of gold, not screwed in together, not melded together. After the 27th day of the month, Yom Chav Ches B'Chodesh, the 28th day of the month. Skip the parentheses again. Teisefes Koyach Toikiv Chayzik B'Chol Yonam Elu, additional power and strength in all the above matters. After that, the day prior to Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, that's a preparation for Rosh Chodesh. Shechidush Alavana B'Rosh Chodesh, La'achre Ahelam V'Hester B'Rosh Chodesh, the new moon that takes place on Rosh Chodesh after the concealment and covering that the moon was entirely covered on the day before Rosh Chodesh. It indicates the renewal of the Bnei Yisrael, that the Yidden will be renewed just like the moon, in the true and complete redemption. Let's skip over a few lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines after where it says 134. Let's say Badgosh Yisera Rosh Chodesh Adar, with even more emphasis that it's Rosh Chodesh or the month of Adar. The body Mazli has a very strong mazel. Why is the mazel of Adar so strong? Since the month that was transformed to joy. Hasimcha de Geulah Purim, the joy of the redemption of Purim. V'mismach Geulah. And then you have the Geulah being brought close to the other Geulah, Purim LePesach. the Geulah of Purim has to be made next to the Geulah of Pesach. That's why in a year when there's two others, we do Purim in the second order, so it should be close to the Geulah of Pesach, top of the next page. And in Pesach, it's obviously the idea of Geulah, like a day's going out from the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. Mismach gam b'shini aseder. They're close also in changing the order. In the Pesach and Purim order, first you have Purim, then you have Pesach. But the Rebbe is saying, we're not going to wait till Pesach for the Geulah. The Geulah should come now. And then will be Purim. So it will be flipped around the order of the Geulah to Geulah, bring one closer to the other. Let's skip over to the second column, Ois Yud Gimel, second paragraph on the second column. It should be the will, and that's primarily Sha'agula Mitzvah Shlema, the Moshiach that came to Tovei Poel Mamish, take from Yad Mamish. The true and complete redemption through Moshiach should come in actuality immediately. Surely we will not need to wait till the month of Nisan. Not even till the month of Adar that's close to Nisan. Not even to the month of Adar that's close to Shvat. That year was double Adar. Since Mashiach is going to come already in Shabbos Mevorchim of the first month of Adar, B'siyum Shel Chodesh Shvat, at the conclusion of the month of Shvat, Zach Shvat, the 27th of Shvat, Ubefrat B'yam Shabbos HaChatzois, especially after Shabbos afternoon, B'zman HaMincha V'Suda Shlishis, in the time of Mincha and the third meal, Shekosher and Geulah Shlishis, Beis Mikdash Shlishis. The third meal is connected with the third redemption and the third Beis Mikdash, meaning the final redemption. Let's continue the last page. The Rebbe continues the brachas, Kain Tielanu, so it should be for us, but Poel Mamish in actuality. The take from Yad Mamish and Kol Pirushim, and immediately with all the explanations and meanings should be Miyad. Koil Gam Rosh Tevis, the Chlos Hadoris Moshe Yisrael, Abel Shem Tev David Malk Mashiach. The word Miyad includes also the Rosh Tevis of the general generations. The Mem of Miyad goes on Moshe, the Yud of Miyad goes on Yisrael, who is Baal Shem Tov, and Daled of the Miyad goes on David Malk Mashiach. Mashiach is called by the name David, so it's going through three generations: Moshe, Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, and David HaMelech. The Chol HaPirushim Sheba Mamish, and all the different meanings of Mamish. L'chol Rosh Miyad Mamish Kipshutim Mamish Mamish Mamish, and literally Mamish Mamish Mamish. The Rebbe also says Miyad is also hinted at three different periods. The Mem is Mashiach, which is, his name is Menachem, also with a Mem. Yud is Yosef Yitzchak, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and Daled is Duber, the second name of the Rebbe Nishma Seiden.